All right, that was amazing, right? Yeah, if you guys don't understand how incredibly hard it is for us to raise money, and it's incredibly hard to even raise money when you're a person of color. And so to see Paul Judge do it in the way that he's done it has certainly created a pathway for a lot of us in that regard that work in this particular field. So now we're going to bring up our one of our panel sessions in that regard. And so this will be how to start using AI as small businesses. So I'm going to bring up the moderator, Robbie Parks from the Georgia SBDC office, who will be moderating this particular panel. And then David Hailey, and I'm going to let all of them introduce themselves and their titles and what they do. Bring up David Hailey, and then Shani Boston, and then Pascal. Is he here? Is he here? Is he here? Okay, yeah. All right. From Georgia Tech, one of my colleagues. Super excited. You know, I can't believe I've been here all this time and I haven't met you, man. Like, you know, something's wrong with that. We got to close that. With that, I will turn it over to you guys.
Thank you so much. This is a great crowd. I'm excited to be here. So yes, I'm with the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center, and we work with small businesses across the state, across the country actually, on however they need help. And so AI is obviously a big part of that right now. So I'm excited to have the panel with me. If we could just start out, if you would each introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about your company, and then we'll get into the questions. So I'll start with you. Go ahead. I couldn't even tell.
Okay, that better? All right, I'll start over. Nice to meet everyone. My name is David Hailey. I run a company called Countifi, where we use computer vision and AI to allow clients to count inventory automatically using pictures. So if you think about mainly in the airline space and the healthcare space, we work with airlines looking at beverages and food that comes off the plane. Instead of manually counting those items, we take a picture and we will count those items automatically. Do that in the healthcare space and airline space as well.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shani Boston. I actually am I work at Intuit Mailchimp. I work on the Mailchimp brand. I'm actually Chief of Staff to the SVP of Technology, and I oversee product engineering and design operations at Mailchimp. So it is wonderful to be here.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Pascal van Hentenryck. I'm a faculty here at Georgia Tech. I'm also the Director of Tech AI, the AI Hub at Georgia Tech. I will say a few words about this in a moment. And I'm also the Director of National Science Foundation AI Institutes, mostly focusing on AI for engineering. So the AI Hub here at Georgia Tech, Tech AI, is all about a platform for Georgia Tech researchers to interact with industry, with governments, also professional education. So we interact with a large number of companies, helping them think about the AI, challenges and how to deploy AI in practice.
All right, we have got a great panel, obviously. So let's just start off. You've already mentioned it, so let's just set the stage. Why is artificial intelligence such a helpful tool for small businesses?
Well, for us specifically, we looked at the problem of manual processes, like manual counting, manual inventory processes, and we use AI to, replace those manual processes that either were very manual and very time-consuming, or were still very manual but weren't getting done at all. Right? So if you think about, for airlines, we work with an airline here in Atlanta, we work with one in Chicago, really all around the world. And those processes were just not getting done. So because it was time intensive, you think about, for example, we count liquor that comes off the plane. All the liquor that comes off the plane, thousands and thousands and thousands of miniature bottles that come off the plane every day. And so it is so time intensive to count those. So we said there has to be a better process, has to be a better way to do this. And so we use AI. So we build computer vision models to, as I said, take one picture and we'll build the AI model on those particular items. So we'll look at those. And so we use it, we recognized what that problem was, realized that it was very time intensive and said, is there a way that we can implement AI to make it easier and more cost-effective?
Work smarter, not harder. I love
Work
it.
smarter, not harder. Exactly. That's what we try to do.
How about you, Shani?
Yeah, so I think, we've done a lot of research to understand the struggles and the problems that small businesses have. They're core, right? There's, I want to grow my business, I want to get paid, I want to get access to capital, I want to be compliant, I want to conduct my payroll. So all of these problems that we understand, and I think Paul talked about it, they're very consistent across the board. And I think AI has an opportunity to really simplify some of that for us, because I think small businesses, the challenge is the cognitive load. You have to make decisions about every aspect of your business all the time. And so if you can come in and say, I want to grow my businesses, I want to start a marketing campaign, and I don't have to think about the copy. I don't have to think about editing. I don't have to think about visuals. I don't have to think about imaging. I can automatically understand who I need to send my marketing materials to, at the time, making it timely, making it the right message, making it to the right person. I mean, I think about the holiday season we're in right now is a perfect example. You could walk into your business, you have all of your marketing campaigns automatically created for you, ready to send at the right time so that people are clicking on that, getting access to your products. All of those things are measurable ways for small businesses to reduce sort of the cognitive load. And I think honestly, like we talked about, level the playing field.
I love, and we've said that a couple of times, levels the playing field, and that's so important for small businesses. That's a great point. How about you, Pascal? What do you think?
So I think, when I think about AI, I think this is a productivity tool, right? So this is about doing things that humans are doing and that we can improve tremendously. I think Paul was talking about moving to a higher cognitive level. That's typically what is happening with AI. So you automate things that are typically repetitive, boring, that, you would think could not be done a few years ago, but can be done right now. So that's one of the things that is going to happen. And I'll give you some example in a moment. The other things that AI can allow you to do is to do things that humans are too slow to do. We work with a lot of companies where you need to have a very quick reaction to something, evaluate something very quickly, risk, for instance, and things like this. And humans are very slow in doing that. And so with AI, you can actually automate some of those. So we work with some energy companies, for instance, and they want to know what is the risk in my system right now. And they can't do that fast enough because of the scale. At the level of automation, I think most of the things that you typically do on a day-by-day basis, like summarizing something, like understanding regulations. All these things are getting completely automated. You get the summary, you get the links, you can check the things that are important to you. So massive automation on that part. Training is a big application. So a lot of companies now are developing completely new AI agents for training. Customer relationship is massive. You can interact with your systems now to understand really how did I interact with this customer? What do they like? What the other customers, with a similar profile, what do they typically do? All these things now are getting automated to a point where you look at the data and you can start making decisions.
That's fantastic. And I think so important for entrepreneurs, because who is an entrepreneur in here that has unlimited time? Right. It's just not a thing. So it helps improve efficiencies and just help you do your job. And so we've already talked on how AI can be used in daily operations, and I'll just kind of lob this to the panel. Is there anything that really hasn't been said about what AI could look like when implemented daily? We've talked about efficiencies, marketing, counting. Any other thoughts? Or if you want to talk about maybe what challenges AI can solve that hasn't been mentioned.
I mean, I think the thing, I think it's Paul, correct? I think you said it's Pascal, sorry, I apologize. I think you said it great where it's an assistant, and I think judgment is always something that will always sit with a business owner. And for me, I think of something when I think about marketing materials, it's amazing. I think small businesses understand their brand. They understand their tone. They understand their voice. They understand how they want to interact with their customers. And while AI can give you so many advantages in that, ultimately, that power sits with a small business owner. They understand sort of how they've had a relationship for the past 20 years with somebody. They understand if that person, if they are family friends, there's just a human connection there. And so I think while it's an assistant and it helps you from a productivity perspective, it can never replace that. And I think that's where, by having sort of these efficiencies, it enables small businesses to actually invest in those sort of relationships. So to me, I think that's kind of how I would think about it.
We hear that time and time again, efficiency, it's so important in processes. Anything? Yeah,
I would also think, I feel like AI is just such a popular vocabulary word now. Like everyone wants to say AI, we do AI this, we do AI that. But are you still solving a problem? Right? I think we talk to a lot of businesses a lot and say, oh, there's a bunch of AI companies that come to us and have all these AI tools. But if you are not solving that company's problem, you can have all the damn AI tools in the world. But the company will, one, not know how to implement it. And then you're just going to them and saying, we got this, we got this, we got that, we got this. And there's like, well, you haven't listened to us and really understood what our problems are and where we're trying to go. And so if you just lead with, we are an AI company, and this is all we do, and we can solve all your problems, then to me that's a hard sell. And it's almost a non-starter, because at the end of the day, people still, you talk about efficiency, but it has to plug into their business. Like when you come in and start trying to change behavior, hey, we can implement this, but you got to change this, and this. Businesses don't want to hear that, at least from our perspective. They want to make it easy, where it's plug and play. We understand exactly what to do, and it's easy for us to implement.
Well said. Would you agree, plug and play, easy as, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So now I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. We've talked about how small businesses can use AI. I want to know how you have used AI to solve a problem, and it can be in your business. I'll start with you. Go ahead, David. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in the airline space, right? I'm an auditor, and then went to an airline, and I realized the airline industry spends about $4 billion of stuff that goes on the plane, is never touched, and comes off the plane and has to be thrown away. All right, so whether that's beverages, food, just a bunch of, so much waste. So I said there has to be a better way to solve this. Now, whether it's manual counting, the manual counting is not working, but the good part about it is every airline, every caterer has the same exact problem. All right, and so we said counting is not possible because there's just too much stuff to count. And so we, as I said, we build AI models to count those items. So if you think about, as I said, liquor trays or beverage trays that the flight attendant goes up and down the aisle with, we take thousands of images a day, and we'll count those items and tell airlines, hey, 40% of your Bacardi rum is coming back. People are not drinking Bacardi rum. How can you reduce inventory? How can you reduce the labor? But then also, if you think about, airlines also care about weight. So if we know how much that bottle of Bacardi weighs, and we say, hey, you can also reduce your fuel costs by reducing the amount of inventory you put on the plane. Right, so you have these very, very easy to understand, reduce inventory, reduce labor, reduce fuel by doing this, right? So it's very easy. So that's how we use AI.
And I have to say, I've flown a lot. I've never thought about that kind of thing. I've never thought about when I get off the plane, I'm just off the plane, right? But the inventory, how that ties to weight and how that ties to fuel consumption, that's incredible, the nuance of that. So Shani, how about you? How do you use AI every day?
Personally? Oh, man.
I
hope my boss isn't watching this right now. I mean, in everything, I think we've talked about it. I truly believe it's kind of an assistant. So any materials I've ever sent out, it goes through. It summarizes, I will look for grammar, I will look for tone, any sort of copy, any executive presentations, business planning, offsite planning, team events, training, learning. If I have to go learn something, I'll literally sit down and say, build me a learning plan for the next 3 weeks on a specific topic. I use it all the time. It's really kind of my cheat sheet. And
I love that. And so my area of expertise is in the marketing space. And so when generative AI came out, we heard a lot, it's coming for my job. It's plagiarism and all of that. But even as a designer, I use it not to write things for me, but to better what I wrote or to summarize a document. Here's a 30-page PDF. Can you just give me the highlights of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say, like, the scariest thing for me is starting with a blank page. And I think ChatGPT, all of these sources, all of these tools enable you not to start with a blank page. It's so much easier to build onto something than create something from that new. And so for me, any way that I can sort of get a leg up and not have to start from the ground up is super helpful.
I love that. How about you, Pascal? What does AI at Georgia Tech look like?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a number of examples that we've been working on. So a lot of the work that we have done has been in manufacturing and supply chain. So people come and say, we have to ship these things. What is the best way to do this? And so you can learn, so it's always start with solving, prediction problems and then optimization problems. And then you want to learn them such that you can solve them in real time. People are coming to say, I have this package, I have to send them somewhere. What is the best way to do this? And so which providers do I use? What is their reliability? Things like this. It always start with learning something about your operation and then using it to solve a decision-making process. So that's one of the things that we do. We also do, you would be surprised how much companies here in the States in manufacturing are using AI. They basically have automation all over the place, but then there are these points where there are still humans in the loop. They want to make them more effective in making those decisions. So they are saying, hey, I have these orders, I have to prioritize them, which one should be first? And so they want to learn how the system reacts, very big system that they have to simulate, but no, you want to do that at the speed of the decisions, right? We do a lot of energy as well. So renewable energy, how you put it in the grid, it's all about predicting the wind and then predicting solar energy and then matching that with the demand. Georgia Tech on its own, a lot of work also on healthcare. How do you actually recruit patients better, triage better, change the way you deliver care by using AI at different points. So that's one of the things that we are doing. Also, Georgia Tech was one of the first places using a virtual AI assistant. And I want to come back to what Shani was saying. The idea of a virtual assistant is going to be almost for everything. Absolutely. So there will be virtual assistant for everything that you can think of. Every person that you have in your organization will have a virtual assistant to help her do things better. And so I think that's one of the things that's going to happen with AI. So I give you some example. I could go on for an hour, but I'll stop there.
No, this is good though. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I think that's a good point, like not starting with a blank page. So we look at, not from a computer vision perspective, but even a large language model perspective, if companies that we are targeting to work with will put their 10Q or their 10K into ChatGPT and just copy all of it, put in ChatGPT, and then say, what are some of the biggest problems that this company is dealing with? Right, so it'll learn, so you don't have to read the 145-page 10K, but you can put it in AI and then put your website, your company's website, and say, how can this company solve the problems for this target? Right, and so it'll give you those details automatically in a number of seconds without you doing all that research.
Great. You're still needed, but you're using it to work more efficiently. And I'm going a little bit off script here, see if I need to start running, because Pascal, you said something that I think it's important. You said human in the loop. And so that is an actual AI term. Can you just kind of talk about the importance of being, what is human in the loop and the importance of that?
So I think most of so I think Paul was talking about responsible AI before, and so there is still a way to go before AI is going to be reliable 99% of the time or 100% of the time when you are using it for engineering. And so I think what it gives you is, it's not, I think there is a human in the loop to actually look at the data that is compiled. I mean, we were talking about summarization, super important. I'll give you an example in a moment. But then you have to make decisions based on that. So you have to look at the data, you have to follow the links, you have to know what is correct, where you have doubts, and you want to verify that, and then you make decision. The key point is that the time to decision is much shorter. So let me give you so we are using AI for our own operations. For instance, we have about 80 students working with us. And so we have a guidebook for them. This guidebook is like, I don't know, 50 pages long. It's unreadable, right? But now you put it in Copilot or, ChatGPT, you ask questions and you get answer, you get the links, you can check where in the document, things are. That's the kind of things that the students love. They don't have to read the whole thing. They ask a question in natural language, they have the answer. That's a tiny example, but make that at the level of a company. Think about your customer interaction software like Salesforce. You interact with question and answers now, not actually looking at the records in a database. game changer in the speed at which you can make a decision on how to interact with your customers.
Well said. I just wanted to point out that terminology because it is important. AI is not foolproof yet. So I like to say in my prompts, if I'm doing something for research or something like that, is I say cite your sources. Tell me why you said that to get the validation. We've talked about a lot of industries, and I hope that's what you're picking up on, is that people often think, oh, generative AI or AI, it's just for marketing or doing social media posts or something. And it's definitely important for that, but we've seen manufacturing, we've heard healthcare, we've got the airline industry, we've got all kinds of different industries that can use this technology. So let me ask you, when a company is starting, an entrepreneur says, I want to start with this AI business I've been hearing about. And I know that's a loaded question because there's lots of different types, as we've talked about. But can you just speak at a high level, and I'll start with you, David, just what does the process of, okay, I'm ready to get started, now what? What does implementation look like for an entrepreneur?
That's a good question. And I probably sound like a broken record, but I always say start with a problem. Like, what are you trying to solve? Because if you have a bunch of AI tools, as I said, and just try to plug it into something, then it's not going to work. So I would start with a problem, even if it's not only a problem, but a problem you think somebody will pay you for, right? Because you can have all the problems in the world, but if no one will pay you to solve that problem, then you're probably just doing a hobby, right? You're just doing stuff for fun. So those are my two starting points. And then from an AI perspective, there's a bunch of it depends on what you're trying to solve. So a bunch of language models, ChatGPT, Copilot, all those language type models, they're everywhere. And you can put in, really, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. Who else is trying to solve this problem? Or what other industries can this be applied to? From us, for images is a little bit different, right? Because there's not as much AI around images as popular as it is with language models. But I would start with those two. What's the problem? Will somebody pay you for that problem? And then how can you use just regular language models to start without starting with a blank sheet of paper?
That's well said. And I love that you said start with a problem, because with entrepreneurs, you've got a lot going on. And I know when I teach business, I ask business owners, why are you in business? And I get to pay my bills, to take care of my family, to leave a legacy, to help out. Yes, all of that. As far as I'm concerned, the customer, you exist to solve a problem for me. And so what is that problem? Otherwise, how can you speak to it? So I'm glad that you said that. How about you, Shani? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think always starting with the problem, because I think it's always so humbling in your ability to actually solve it, and do you have a solution that people want? I mean, for me, I always, when we spend a lot of time thinking about small businesses, we just think about all of the myriad of problems they have. And so it's starting with the problem. It's also, whenever you're thinking about any sort of new technology, it's always change. Right? It's understanding change, and it's understanding what is your appetite for change, right? Because if it's going to take you, 6 months, 3 months, 2 months to learn something, is it truly worthwhile? So the big thing to me is what is the return on investment, right, that you're thinking about? So it's starting with the problem, it's understanding the return on investment, what is your level of commitment, right? Because you may have a solution that works for you right now, and ultimately this may be something that you need to decide as a small business to hire for. Right, that's a judgment decision. So I think it's the problem, it's the ROI, and then I also think for me it's understanding sort of where is the future of my business going, right? Because if I'm thinking about automating problems, everybody is doing that, right? So what is unique about what I'm actually offering, right? What is it making special? Everybody can get on ChatGPT now. Everybody has access to things like Canva, so you can do unique design. So how do you distinguish yourself from the rest of the field? So to me, those are the three things that I would start thinking about too.
I like that. And two, as entrepreneurs, how often do you think you need to know all the things all the time? Yeah. Right? I see that all the time, is that people will say, I need to do all of the things. And I love that maybe it's not something you want to do. Maybe you want to outsource it, and that's okay. I don't do my taxes, trust and believe. I did that one time. That will not happen again. I outsource that. Yeah. So great point. Pascal, you've talked about a lot of different industries. So what does that look like as far as at a high level, a hospital or manufacturing says, I want to implement it?
I think it's the same as what David and Shani have said. I mean, it's all, what is the pain point that you have, and can AI actually help? That's the first thing. So if you don't have a pain point, if people are not willing to actually invest money in solving it, I mean, we don't work on those problems. The second thing that we talk to people is, do you have the data? How much data do you have? Is it accessible? Because otherwise we can't use AI. I mean, AI is still very much data hungry. There are problems with small data, but most of the problems we deal with, you need the data to actually inform the AI system. So that's the second thing that we ask. The third thing is very, very close to what Shani is saying. We want to actually know what is the metrics of success. What is the ROI? How do we measure that we will be successful? That's the third thing we ask. Then we can start. And so afterwards, there will be issues like compute and things like that you need to be concerned with sometimes. But roughly speaking, these are the first three things that you need. We do a lot of digital twins as well to demonstrate success, which means this is, the current state of the art. This is what we would do in a simulation environment if you deploy the AI technology, such that it's validated before you deploy it. So we do a lot of that as well. I had another point that I forgot. Oh, yeah. So there is about generative AI versus, other forms of AI. Generative AI is like top of mind for many people, and for the right reason. It allows you to do various things, but there is also other forms of AI that are extremely useful in other companies. Computer vision is one of them, obviously. But I think the future is also about using AI for creative tasks. The entertainment industry is very interested in that. For instance, Google has released ways of doing PowerPoint presentations almost automatically. These are things that allow people to be more creative and automate, things that are annoying to do.
That's great. And I think we've all spoken to the fact that you don't have to be an AI expert to get started. Right? You don't have to know all of the ins and outs of the technology. So in the time that we have left, let's leave folks with some resources. What resources, and I'll start, I'm not picking on you, you're just closest to me. What resources would you say are available to, as an entrepreneur, for entrepreneurs when they want to get deeper into the AI journey?
This might sound very stupid. YouTube. Right? There's so much available on YouTube that people don't realize. I'm not a technology person. Like, I am not a technical, I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer, right? I've solved a problem, and I was trying to solve a problem and say, how can I build a team around it? But I think the first step is kind of understanding what's out there, because every day there's a new AI model, there's a new, somebody else is saying, oh, you can use our model, use our platform. And so, but you have to understand kind of, again, like, what are you trying to solve and what is the best? And so I would say, from an AI perspective, like, get an understanding of the totality of everything that's out there. But there's so many resources at Georgia Tech, truthfully. Like, whether it's ATDC, there's so many classes that you can take that understand who's your customer discovery, the financial models. There's a lot of free stuff out there that you can start with, so you're not, like, by yourself.
Free is good. I call it YouTube University all the time. How about you, Shani?
Yeah, I think YouTube, I honestly wouldn't mind, and we've talked about this, but if you're looking for resources, ChatGPT is a great place to go to get a list of resources for a topic that you're trying to understand. That's your assistant to help you learn and build a learning program. I know the SBA, I think, is going to have an AI hub as well, and so I think the more that you can also just follow sort of established, whether it's universities, whether it's the SBA, whether it's corporations that are really transparent about how they're actually using AI, how the data is being used, is also a great place for you to learn too.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so one of the things that is part of my role is actually to find a strategic way of interacting with small business and startups here, and creating an ecosystem here in the Atlanta region. So if you have, Tech AI is going to make sure that we can help as many startups as possible, help as many small businesses as possible. So I'm always glad to hear from you. What are your needs and so on. We're setting up professional education programs such that you can get up to speed with some of the AI technology as quickly as possible. But we also want to make sure that we can give you the help from computing standpoint, from any advice that we can give you of where the technology is going and help you. That's one of the roles that we'll have to fill. So we don't only work with big companies, we try also to make sure that we have a strategic vision such that Georgia Tech can interact with startups and with small businesses and create this nice ecosystem here in Atlanta.
Fantastic. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out the UGA Small Business Development Center again. We have 18 offices across the state. We work with businesses at no charge, and there's no catch, because that's the next thing. I always get the side eye. And yeah, Shani, you mentioned the SBA's AI Hub. Think of that as your one-stop shop for AI resources. They've done the legwork for you, and so it's one convenient place to get information that you need. But that's all the time. Can we thank the panel? They were amazing. Thank you so much. And I see the AI Hub on the screen now, so please avail yourself of those resources. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Robbie.